Welcome to another edition of Travels with Charlie, Vermont Politics in Real Life. Today my guests are former City Councilor Paul Decelles. Paul, thanks for being with us today. And the former co-owner of Leunigs Bistro in downtown Burlington, Bob Conlon. Bob, wait a minute, somebody brought the cutout in here, Paul. If we do a selfie, we actually get a free dessert before we leave
Fantastic,
today.
I can't wait.
Let's do that. Bob, where are you?
No free desserts.
No free desserts.
I don't own it anymore. But
Bob Conlon.
This is the guy who's going to make more sense than I am.
Thank you all for being here with me today, and it's great to see you all once again. Bob Conlon. Bob has often been referred to as, and I used to say this all the time, and you know, you're probably sick of hearing it, the mayor
of Church Street.
The mayor of Church Street, but in many ways you were and still are.
I miss it, but not enough to go back to work.
And Paul, you served 8 years on City Council.
I did, 2006 to 2014.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic time.
Well, I'm glad you can both be here today. I want to talk about, obviously, some of the things that are going on. One of them, of course, is the coronavirus, and here we are. It's been almost a year now. It certainly impacted the restaurant business. Bob, you got out just before
I was so lucky.
Corona hit. We all want to know, what's the number to play today?
I've been playing lottery numbers, but nothing's hitting for me. I hit it when I retired. I'd have died. I honestly think I would have died if I owned the place and the government said, shut.
Yeah.
Because you still owe the rent, you still
Right.
owe the taxes, you still owe everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh.
So it's been a real struggle, and I mean that's one of the things, of course, with COVID-19, what it's done to the restaurant industry, of course, what it's also done to the vibrancy of downtown Burlington, and we've got some other issues going on. I mean, there's a lot we can talk about today, and Paul, we've asked you to be here. Your thoughts, certainly serving on the City Council
Sure.
previously, and you're also a strong supporter of the Burlington Police Department, and that's one of the issues that I wanted to get into today, how that all plays into the vibrancy of a downtown. We've got a City Council that seems to be bent on reducing the police force. We've had one councilor that actually suggested police don't carry firearms any longer. Yeah. So how that all plays into it, we'll discuss that today, and if we don't solve anything, maybe we'll have some steak frite and a drink
and dessert.
And dessert. Bob, I'd like to ask you first how this has impacted the restaurant business. Here we are, as I mentioned, almost a year now. Luckily, somebody had the foresight, and it was probably you a few years ago with Le Petit Bijou across the street.
Donnell, my partner, that was all her.
And of course, that's takeout, and that's pretty much what every restaurant has been relegated to do, is doing takeout, although you can seat minimal people in here now.
Yeah, I know Donnell's done a great job with the takeout. I've gotten takeout food, bring it back to the house, and we eat it there. It's not as good as eating here, though.
Well, it's the ambiance.
Yeah, it's the ambiance, and the food is hot and fresh when you're here. By the time you get it home, it's good, but it's not the same.
So what do you see, here's the city trying to struggle with the issues of COVID-19 and now throw on top of that the issue of defunding police, cutting the police force. Downtowns need to feel, people need to feel secure if they're going to walk downtown.
Without a doubt, and I think it's evolved. I think I hear it often now. People say they truly believe this is the Twilight Zone. And to some extent, I don't think that's an outlandish statement. You look outside right now, it's snowing out. It's going to be dark soon. There's still the allure of Church Street. And that would still bring folks down come wintertime. It was slower, but you still had mom and pop with the kids coming down the street. You're not seeing that now. People don't feel safe. They don't feel secure. Look at the graffiti just, all over the city. The broken window theory, right? And I think it's come true that we don't have the resources to take care of these issues. It's just getting worse and worse. I mean, we're living in a little Portland, Oregon to an extent here, and people aren't coming down. They truly are afraid.
Well, the racial justice resolution voted to defund the Burlington Police Department, cutting the force by 30%, from 105 down to 74. Where did the number come from, 30%? I mean, were there any studies done, or they just
No,
Pick a number out of a hat and boom, let's go with it.
I think that's kind of what they did. I think what they've done is adopted national politics. The tough thing about being an elected official, as much as you need to be foot on the ground, try to understand what the people are thinking, you still have to take the 10,000-foot view and the perspective of the whole city and try to rationalize and understand what's best for all of her citizens. And I think they clearly didn't do that. Officers, there's certain restaurants they still can't go to. There's coffee shops they still won't visit because they're still concerned that people might put something in their food, in their drinks.
When I started here, I was a bartender, and I did breakfast, and one of my cooks made cream chip beef on toast. And there would be mornings I'd have 6 cops at the bar eating shit on a shingle, if you can. But it was delicious. We loved it. But I'd have all these cops there, and it felt like real life.
Yeah.
Well, even 35 years ago, when the police department was a little more rough and tumble than it is right now, you might see somebody get manhandled when they're arrested. It's just the way it was.
Yeah.
The old joke, how many cops does it take to push a drunk down a flight of stairs? It's like, oh, he fell. It's like, but even when it was a little more Wild West, the cops you could count on. They were there for the law-abiding citizen, for the business person.
Right.
They weren't there for the criminal.
Yeah.
And now the law-abiding citizen feels a little bit deserted, I think. I think they do a fantastic job. Now, I'm not a criminal. I may have a different opinion if I was breaking into somebody's car or breaking into somebody's house or drinking in the park.
Man, I'm a little surprised, Paul. We've been here about a half hour. Bob, where's the wait staff?
They're not up here.
Oh, they're not up here, man. Paul and I are waiting for a drink. I'm going to help ourselves here pretty soon.
Sounds great, Charlie.
But I want to continue on with the city council, if we could, for just a moment. Again, your thoughts as serving on the council for 8 years. What year was that? Years?
2006 to 2014.
Man, when did the shift, that change happen? I often joke with Kurt Wright, who was the city council president, Republican on the city council. He was make sure you shut the lights when you leave because you're the last one there, the last Republican. There's very little balance.
You're right, and it wasn't always like that. When I was there, Kurt and I would have these discussions about progressives and Democrats, and I couldn't understand, how do you align yourself with this party and not that? And then you get into the weeds and you start doing the work, and it's easy to see that you find commonality, right? With the progressives, oftentimes it was Republicans and progressives who saw things sort of very similarly. But it was a different time too. The meetings didn't last 14 or 16 hours.
Man. Yeah.
It seems, I'm not going to say lack of immaturity, but I've had ex-coworkers who have said, we supported these young counselors because we thought that would be great. They've now regretted that because they don't have the context or they're not even searching it out. And that's become frustrating as an ex-elected official to sit and watch that.
What's the pulse of people down here, Mr. Mayor?
I barely have a pulse. I've been retired a year now. I'm not down here all the time, but it was a friendly vibe. All the business people were in it together. We all took care of each other.
Yeah.
If this guy ran out of ice, we had ice. If we, it's like we were always helping each other out.
Yeah.
It was we knew what was good for the city was good for us.
Yeah. Do the business owners feel that the city council is not supporting them, not looking out for their best interest? What's the feeling?
Well, I know a year or two ago that Uncommon Grounds was having trouble. They had to put up those fences on Main Street to keep
Because of the panhandlers.
the panhandlers
Right.
there. And it's like if people talk, and I have a neighbor. Well, she's since moved to New York, and I've moved my house, but we still see each other. But she would give money to these people. I'd say, don't do that. Well, they need it. It's like, no. They have Section 8 housing. They have food stamps. Most of them, and I got this from Matt Young, most of them have a place. They're all right. You're just buying cigarettes and beer.
Yeah. What did you make of this past summer when, a number of protests, and we all agree you have the right to protest, although I think if you want to protest with those numbers down Church Street, you need a permit. It's considered a parade.
Yep.
And yet here they are marching down, and people are on the outside. That's the height of the restaurant business. You can eat outdoors, and somebody's sitting down and enjoying a delicious meal, and they're listening to, they're being harassed by people
They're
walking
being yelled
by
at
them.
and said, agree with me. You need to agree with me. It's like, well, I don't have to agree with you.
And nothing was done. I
Yeah.
mean, there was no pushback.
It's a mob. That's the thing. Mobs are dangerous.
You stand for something, or you stand for nothing.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to be the adult in the room and say, this is what I believe, and face those consequences, right? I mean, I was called a racist more this summer. I've never been called a racist in my entire life until this summer. My father-in-law's, in his 70s, my dad in his 70s, my wife being screamed at, called Karen, ridiculed. And we come home and our daughter would be like, why do you do this? And it was simply put, right? You stand for something. You've got to have that voice out there dissenting and do what's right.
I want to thank you both for joining me here today on Travels with Charlie. It's great to see you again, Bob. You're looking great.
to see you. I love the hair.
Thank you. You know what? Last March, I got a haircut, and that's been it. I used to be high and tight, and no longer.
Now he's just high.
Yeah. Paul, I know we've been talking a lot about the, defunding the police and so forth. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up, man, because we could probably do a top 10 on, and I don't mean to pick on the city council, but when you bring it down on yourself, when I heard that they wanted to put a tax on homes that use natural gas or oil. They want everyone to go electric and force them to do so. And if you don't, there'll be a surcharge. And man, I'm just thinking, how much support are they getting from the community on if somebody's got a home that they're burning gas or they're burning natural gas? How much support are they getting from them that, well, you're going to charge me more because I'm not going to change over to electric?
I'm one of those. 30 years ago, we were all told to switch to natural gas.
Right, electricity was too expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
So now to be told the other way, listen, my wife wears the pants in our family, and there's no way we're going back to electric. And I think you're going to hear that from most people.
And probably a small part of the picture that not everybody gets, especially if you're outside of Burlington, but you want me to go electric, and you actually have a plant here that produces electricity that burns
Wood.
Correct.
There's
a certain level of irony.
certain.
But that plant was put in as an environmental measure.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, it was better for the environment.
So you probably ask this all the time, Bob. Do you miss the restaurant? Would you like to come back?
I miss it. I don't need the stress. I don't need the employees. I don't need the worries. I don't need the schedule. But if I could go in like once every 6 months and just stand at the door and say hello to people, I'd be very happy. Very happy. But
Well, you did a great job standing by the door.
tell you, retirement is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
My old partner, Robert Fuller, used to say he was a chef.
Yeah.
And he said he spent his whole life thinking restaurants were about food. They're about people. They're not about food.
Yeah.
It's like you can have mediocre food, but if you're surrounded by happy people and their service is
Absolutely.
good, you're coming back.
And that's what we're missing during this whole COVID experience. You can't sit down and eat a meal. You bring it home.
Right.
You want to sit down and eat it there. So he's, former restaurateur and not going back, but former city councilor. I got to ask you, Paul, any hopes that you could go back to the city council?
Charlie, I think if you would have asked me that a year ago, 2 years ago, the answer would be an unequivocal no. But I think over this past year, this summer, watching what the council is doing now and is capable of doing, I think the honest answer is that it's sort of a new fire is reborn. I don't think that's an unrealistic thing for me to tackle next year.
Well, I'm going to get the magic wand out now. Your chance you can wish for anything you'd like. Anything. Boy, I'll let you think for a little while. Something just lit up in his eyes. I don't even know if I dare to give it to you.
I'm not going to say that.
Okay. This is PG rated.
Yeah.
But, maybe that's a good wish for you. So I'll let you make the first wish here, Paul.
Charlie, I think for me it'd be easy. 85 degrees right now, sunny, and to see hundreds and hundreds of people walking down the street, that would make my day, easily.
Let's go for it.
Perfect.
Bob?
Yep. I like the temperature, 85 degrees. I wish I was spending more time with my grandchildren in big crowds where, this sounds silly, some anonymity. I walk up Church Street and everybody's, hey Bob, hey Bob. It's kind of nice to be anonymous, you know?
Put the mask on, it
Yeah.
helps.
So I would wish for a little anonymity and just crowds of people. That's what I miss, people. We're not supposed to touch, but we'll do it
All
again.
right, we'll do it anyway.
Thanks for
Bob,
having us.
it's great to see you again.
Good to come out.
Thank you for being my
A
guest.
reason to leave the living room.
Good to have you, Paul. Good
Charles,
luck on
thank you very much.
Good luck on your run.
Thank you very much, Bob. It's a pleasure seeing you again
Well,
as
you
well.
do need to run.
You got a campaign
Good luck.
manager here.
Well, I'm too
I'm putting it
shy.
on speed dial pretty
Too
quick.
shy.
Once again, thank you both for being here. I want to thank Chef Donnell and everybody at Leunigs for allowing us to use the upper deck of Leunigs Bistro
She's done
today.
a great job with the place.
And don't forget, you can also go to Le Petit Bijou just across the street. Beignets and hot coffee. It's a great place to be on the Church Street Marketplace. And I want to remind you that you can see more episodes of Travels with Charlie on Facebook and YouTube. And I'll see you in my travels.
Have your turn if you feel the burn. I'm on back road gravel.
Smile. Who can tell?
Jeez.
Hey, ho, Jesus, ho, what's going on? Stop it!